Welcome to the November 2025 Water Resources Outlook from the Southeast River Forecast Center. In the past month, there have been some pockets of above normal rainfall, but for the majority of the Southeast, the dry pattern has continued. We also shifted to more seasonable fall temperatures and even experienced a few days of a cold snap. Aaron, Haley, and myself are here to discuss the recent precipitation and impacts as well as what we have to come.
Drier than normal conditions have been the story for much of the Southeast over the past month. There have been some spots with above normal rainfall, including areas in the Piedmont with near to slightly above normal rainfall. The area around Cape Canaveral and Orlando, Florida, with an event on October 26th and 27th that saw areas of 10 plus inches of rainfall, with some localized amounts pushing 20 inches. And some late October, early November activity around the Outer Banks in northern North Carolina resulted in some wetter than normal conditions there as well. This really stands out when looking at the percent of normals as well, as other than the previously mentioned areas, there are a lot of spots that were only 50% of normal rainfall, with a considerable area of less than 25% of normal rainfall over the past 30 days. The story remains much the same when looking back over the past 90 days, where eastern Florida did see some increased rainfall thanks to persistent easterly flow and some enhanced tropical moisture affecting into the area. But aside from that, much of the area saw below normal rainfall. While not quite as dramatic as the 30-day percent of normals, much of the Southeast still only saw about 50% or less of normal rainfall. Looking at a longer time scale, year-to-date values are a bit closer to normal for most of the area, but a stretch from Mobile Bay along the Gulf Coast and down the west coast of Florida remain well below normal. These dry areas are largely 75 to 90% of normal for the calendar year to date. Taking a look at the 28-day streamflow anomalies, you can see this largely reflected with below and much below normal conditions along the Gulf Coast and western Florida, but above and much above on the eastern side of Florida. Drought conditions have been generally expanding over the past month, with an area of D4 exceptional drought being added along the Georgia-Florida border. The D3 area there has also expanded, with D2 conditions expanding even further north through Georgia, and a large area of North Carolina has also gone from D0 to D1 conditions. We are now rounding the corner into the end of the official hurricane season, which closes on November 30th, closing out what has been a pretty quiet tropical season for the Southeast RFC's area of responsibility. Chantal in early July was the only system to move through our area, and this lack of tropical activity is certainly a factor in the below normal rainfall that we have experienced. As we shift out of tropical season, we can see here that climatological shift as we get into the winter recharge season. Historically, our number of forecast points in flood begins to increase through the end of the year and the first few months of the new year. Shelby will be taking a look at the longer-term trends to see if this may still hold true, but for a look at the near-term forecast, I'll now pass it over to Haley.
A system taking shape to our west will be bringing heavy rain to portions of the plains. However, here in the SCRFC area, things should remain mostly dry today. Some areas closer to the frontal boundary like Mississippi, northern Alabama, Georgia, and far western portions of North and South Carolina and Virginia could see some light rain, maybe up to around 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. Tomorrow, this system moves further east, bringing rain to more of the southeast. Portions of our area, especially those closer to the better forcing like Mississippi, could even see some thunderstorms. The area is expected to see the most rain, around 1 inch or so, stretched from central Mississippi through Alabama and into far northwest Georgia. Heading into the weekend, the chances for showers and storms continue across parts of the region as the front continues to work its way through. Most rainfall is anticipated to be light, though. High pressure slides back in across the southeast Sunday, leaving the majority of the SCRFC area dry to finish out the weekend. However, another system is developing to our west, once again bringing heavy rain to portions of the southern plains. That system continues to develop and move east Monday, bringing the chance for rain to portions of the southeast, mainly the far northern and western portions of the states we serve. These areas with the highest forecast totals between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches are locations closer to the system such as Mississippi and far northwestern Alabama. By Tuesday, the frontal system has continued to progress, spreading chances for showers and storms further east across the region. That initial front is trying to push out, but another coming in behind it will keep the shower and storm chances lingering Wednesday, especially across Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. You can see the evidence of the beginning of a shift to an overall wetter pattern in the 7-day total rainfall forecast. While Florida remains mostly dry through the week, there are several portions of the southeast expected to receive a couple of inches of rain at least. You can see more evidence of this trend in the longer-term outlook. The Climate Prediction Center calls for either near normal or above normal rainfall across the entire region to finish out November.
Thanks, Haley, for taking us through the rainfall forecast for the rest of November and the start of December. As we transition from the period where we rely on tropical moisture for our rainfall in the southeast to the winter period where the jet stream and synoptic environment are the key players, we look more into our ENSO predictions. While other meteorological factors are at play during the winter, ENSO is one of the most predictable and holistically influential. We continue to be in a La Nina advisory, which means La Nina conditions are being observed. This winter La Nina is expected to remain weak, which makes it less likely to result in the typical warm and dry pattern we would see, but it is still likely to drive below normal rainfall in the southeast during the wet season. And we'll take a look at these outlooks in a few slides. ENSO conditions have a 61% chance of starting to transition back to neutral conditions in the January through March timeframe, with this shift most likely starting sometime in February. The December precipitation outlook from the Climate Prediction Center shows the most confidence in the La Nina influence on the southeast. The proximity of the southeast RFC's northern border to the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, where La Nina favors a wet winter pattern, lands this area in the equal chances of normal, below, or above normal precipitation. Further south, we see increasing chances of below normal precipitation over the month of December. The January through March 2026 precipitation outlook continues to favor a drier than normal period. Again, our far northern border is closer to equal chances because of the geographical setup, but a larger portion of the southeast is encompassed in the leaning below normal for precipitation. This does not mean we will not see a wet season in the southeast, but just that it may be atypical. This is especially true in the areas of southern Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, and in northern Florida, where the chances of below normal precipitation are in the 60 to 70% probabilities. Central and South Florida have a drier winter climatology, so the probability of below normal there is less than in other areas. Model guidance indicates that neutral conditions will resume by the late winter and spring periods. So the Climate Prediction Center is indicating equal chances of normal, below, or above normal precipitation in March through May. So the bottom line, in the near term, we are expecting near to above normal rainfall, but the overall winter pattern will be influenced by the ongoing weak La Nina. Because of the extended period of dryness we have seen in the past few months and the ongoing La Nina, drought conditions are expected to persist or worsen in the southeast. Going into 2026, La Nina will continue and may even have lingering impacts until the spring, when ENSO conditions will likely be neutral. We will be back for our final water resources outlook of the year on December 18th.